Hello, everybody, and welcome to another SIG Windows meeting. It's the 23rd of June, and as always, this is a recorded meeting, so please adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct. I wanted to kind of follow up on an agenda item from last week, which was what do we do about some of the changes that have been happening that require SIG-Node to approve them, whether they're cherry picks that have to go to a previous release or items that we depend on right now. As everyone knows, SIG-Node has been incredibly full in terms of the amount of work that they have in their plate, and maybe they were not as responsive as we would have liked. The immediate relief is coming from a couple of additional folks being added into the SIG-Node community that will kind of help increase their throughput both for reviews and replies. And maybe we're not going to see a lot of improvement in the next couple of weeks, but over the course of 1.19, I think that we should be able to see a noticeable improvement. What I want to do is, maybe not today, but if you have requests that you want SIG-Node to approve, that anything that hasn't happened already, whether cherry picks or something else that's just kind of stuck, just send me a private message on Slack. I'm going to collect them all, and I'm going to create a single email that I'm going to send to the new folks that are getting added into the SIG-Node approvers list and see if they can take care of it for us. But again, I'm not going to do that right away. So you have a week or so. Please feel free to send me everything that you want approved, and we'll see if we can take care of it. Mark, anything else to add on that?
No, just that. I've been also feeling pain from not having some of these fixes backported, and I'm glad to see that they're adding more approver bandwidth here.
Yeah, again, it's immediate relief right now, and hopefully it will translate to long-term relief as well. I believe someone asked me, are the approvers going to be on previous branches of Kubernetes as well? Like, for example, if we go back to 1.16 or 1.17, are the approvers going to be applicable there? I haven't gotten an answer on that, but I believe they will be.
I think that was me that asked that.
Was you that asked? Yeah. Hopefully it will be. I haven't gotten a reply back.
Yeah, because a lot of times changes will go into like the master branch recently, and then the automated cherry picks will get opened up immediately and then sit there for months on end, which is
absolutely
like impacting customers the most because they're not using the bleeding edge versions of Kubernetes.
Yep. So one of the things that we wanted to discuss today very quickly was, there's a lot of networking changes that are happening upstream. And David, thank you for shepherding a lot of the documentation on that. I've seen you make a lot of changes. I approved some of them, and I see you adding even more things. So thank you for taking the lead for both, driving the changes as well as adding the docs. So one of the things that came up is that there's a lot of changes that are coming up, and some of them are not applicable unless you have Windows 2004. So can we accelerate and make sure that for version 1.19, 2004 is supported? So in the past, we discussed that we're going to support 2 SAC releases and the LTS release, right? So LTS is 2019. Can we make 2004 to be one of the 2 SAC releases we support? So maybe 1909 and 2004. Is that a good plan? I want to hear from Mark and Adelina as well.
Yeah, I can go. I think that that's a good plan. I know James and myself have been working on making sure that 2004 support is stable in AKS Engine, which is what we use to deploy a lot of the test passes that run on Azure for SIG Windows. And that's looking pretty stable. We wanted to make that was good before we start to light up some test grid test passes on that. But I think we're getting to the point that where we should be able to do that hopefully in the next week or so.
It looks like my Google Docs has a problem here. Keeps dying.
So yeah, okay. I hope that in the next week or so we should be able to have test grid test passes set up running 2004 for the same SIG Windows test passes to get a more comprehensive test signal. And if that looks good, we can just have a conversation about which versions we want to put in the documentation about support for 1.19.
Okay, so I'm going to put this is a plan, not a commitment. So, okay, so let's get an update next week. But yeah, if we can support 1204, 1909, and 1809, I think that gives us a good breadth of LTS and SAC releases. And, most folks are probably not going to be on 1903 anymore, right? I would assume that most folks, if they're on the biannual releases, they will have moved out of 1903. Is that like kind of a fair assumption?
Probably. Also, if Peter or you are on the call, if one of you can comment, are you planning on adopting or have already adopted 2004 supporting GKE?
I can't comment on GKE just yet, but we can definitely, within the next few weeks, bring up a test job on GCE with 2004. That shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Awesome.
Is there an issue open to track any of this yet?
Not aware of any.
Okay, I can create an issue to track adding the GCE test job, and I'll CC the right people on it.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to the next one. Nilesh, are you on today?
Yes, I finally made it on.
Hey, first of all, I appreciate the fact that it's super early for you to, it's like 3:30 in the morning, right?
It's 2:30 in the morning.
2:30, okay. All right, you have the floor.
Pretty much I just joined the call just to introduce myself to the group. I've been working with the SIG, with the Windows implementation with a big financial company in Sydney. Yeah, so been putting some of the pain points. We're still on 1903, looking to move to 1909 in the next few months. But yeah, so at the moment they're doing an on-prem implementation of a Windows hosting all the containers for down here. So yeah, looking to get involved and see where I can help and to do testing or to even help fix some of the bugs. So
cool, thank you, Nilesh. And I believe Craig replied also to your email to the mailing list about connecting together for the SIG auth and the policy profiles for security pods. So is Craig on the call today? I don't see Craig today. So Craig didn't join us today, but you can follow up on the email and you two can connect and figure out next steps. Would that work?
Yep, that would work perfectly.
Awesome, thank you. And thank you for joining us today. Glad to see more folks from down under, and I know the time is not conducive for you guys, but appreciate the effort. Mark, CRI Container D status, go.
Can you guys hear me at all? I have some contractors who are actually texturing some wall and the machine's very loud.
We can hear you fine. I mean, there's a little buzzing in the behind, but it's perfectly fine.
Okay, the last issue that I've been tracking for Containerd kind of feature parity with Docker is this. I linked the PR in the docs here. There is a PR open to add named pipe mount support into Containerd for Windows. And that's needed for primarily the CSI proxy work. That PR looks like the implementation is kind of approved, but they want to see more test coverage. So I'm just really hoping that kind of lands soon so that we can validate that works, and then also get some tests for CSI proxy up on test grid with Containerd. That's kind of blocking that right now.
Sounds good. I'm assuming, given that we're like quite a few weeks away from 119, that it should be safe for this to make it in, right?
Hopefully, yeah. It would have been tough with code freeze on the 25th, but since I got moved out, I had pretty high hopes.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that this is the last change to the schedule, because obviously, like all the other changes are going to push everything towards the KubeCon in Boston if that ends up happening. So that's going to make things a ton more difficult for folks that want to prepare for conference plus do a lot of work. Thank you, Mark. All right, Deep and CSI proxy.
Hey, yeah, excuse me. Things are going pretty well. We have Jing and Kalia helping out in different aspects of this. Overall, looking pretty good for beta in 119. Things we are probably not going to get to would be the node driver registrar tests, the end-to-end tests for Windows specifically. So we were thinking we can maybe leave that for GA. But that's just like an external sidecar anyway, so it's fine to maybe not deal with it. But we have like all the E2E pipelines going for CSI proxy now, integration tests, unit tests, all of that. We also have coverage through some of the amazing test infra work that has been done on the AKS side, as well as things that Jing has been doing for GCPD as well. So lots of end-to-end test coverage, which is one of the main things we wanted to focus on for beta. Yeah.
Which CSI providers have we tested that are going to work?
So right now it's going to stay Azure Disk and GCPD. I think Azure File has also been tested, but
Yeah,
so
Azure File has been tested.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. And there's also the GCP, or the Google Cloud SMB, the equivalent of Azure File in Google Cloud. That's also being tested at the moment. So 2 SMB, 2 disk-based.
And I remember we reached out to that individual from AWS to see if this is something that he wanted to put so he doesn't come back later on. And we had that discussion before where he tried to add features in a cherry pick. Have you heard back from him or?
Yeah, I did. I mean, basically the point, they said they do not have cycles like at least this quarter, and they would probably be coming back to see, pick it up in the GA phase.
Okay. Same thing for vSphere, by the way. I'm having a hard time finding cycles, but trying to elevate the priority there so someone can do the work. I'm trying to see if Ben Moss can come back and do it for us, but he's been pulled into other things. Anything else on this, Deep?
No.
This is great progress, by the way. This is awesome. I'm glad to see this going to beta. So this is huge for us.
Sure.
All right. Windows containers, GitHub repo. Oh, by the way, Deep, one last thing. I don't know if you heard, but in the CSI world, they're trying to create, enable a new way to basically for backup to happen for CSI providers by creating a snapshot API to CSI. Do you know if that's supported by any of these providers that you mentioned, or is it something that's going to come later?
So basically, anything that's on the controller side, which is a controller-driven action, we are not focusing on. These all focus on the node actions. So if it's the controller that can completely take the backup of a disk by invoking the appropriate cloud APIs, that's kind of beyond the realm of CSI proxy. If it tries to do kind of like a flush and hold or a quest semantic on the node itself, that's when CSI proxy comes in. And I don't believe that aspect has been discussed too much. Fortunately, Jing, who is helping a lot from Google, is also quite plugged into the snapshot API side of things. So yeah, I'm sure she would bring it up.
Yeah, I have a couple of folks that are also plugged into that. I've asked them to test with Windows, but without CSI first, then CSI next, and I want to see if they can do that.
Sure.
But okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, I think Maz, you're the one that added the last one, which is Windows containers GitHub repo for OS issues.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Vinicius from our team speak to that, and then I can add something. Vinicius, do you want to announce the GitHub repo?
Hi, everybody. My name is Vinicius. I work on the same team that Maz and some other folks here in the group work. We are part of the Windows Container Platform team. Just this morning, we released a new GitHub repo that is not focused on having any code. The idea is that we are creating a new channel for having customer engagement, just like many other groups at Microsoft are doing, including the AKS team, on which we are going to allow customers to come in, create new issues that could be bugs, it could be feature requests, it could be just starting a new conversation. And in the same repo, customers can check what is the roadmap. So as issues are opened, we are going to triage those and put it in the right stage where they are as either just backlog, planned, in progress, if it is in preview, or if it's even already GA'd. So we hope this new channel will help customers get more close to the product team, and will help us from our side get more insights on what our customers are looking for and what we should be prioritizing.
Yeah, and just to add on, so this is based on the feedback we have gotten from community and customers that there are OS level changes for Windows containers. And usually, even if Michael, in this community, if you have an issue, you normally reach out to Mark or myself. Like we triage those issues, and you don't have visibility. So the point is, if there is an OS level changes, any kind of networking, storage, all those teams will be monitoring and triaging these in the issues, and go ahead and create them. So we have a lot of issues in Kubernetes community already. I'm trying to link some of them. Already imported some of them there. So you just have to create an issue and link it to the one in the Kubernetes, and then the Windows team can give you an update on when it will be fixed, as Vinicius was saying, a rough timeline, and which version would it be targeted. So we're super excited about this, and we're hoping folks will use it in the community and outside.
This is wonderful. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, this is perfect.
So yeah, absolutely. Would you be able to we have a getting started guide for Windows. Let me open it up here really quickly. So over here under SIG Windows, we have a getting started guide that basically kind of covers a lot of the links and items for Windows. And one of the things that we have is beyond the documentation, we have a contributor guide for SIG Windows. I think it would be worthwhile adding a PR here to talk about where to file tickets on Windows containers specifically. There's also a troubleshooting section. Maybe you want to mention that as well. So what do you guys think?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
Makes
I'll
sense.
I'll work with Vinicius to get the PR in.
Okay, cool. So I'll put a note here as well.
And this is just a start, and we're hoping that the community is going to get engaged more, and you'll have more visibility on Windows containers, especially the changes which are within the OS. So if there is any feedback on if we can do this better, if there is a way of doing this better or improving, we're all ears, and we'll continue to improve the repo.
It's awesome. Cool. Very nice. All right, I think this is the end of our agenda. Anything that anybody else wants to bring up? Any questions, concerns, follow up on anything? You guys could hear me, right? Or not?
Yes.
Yep.
We
No,
can.
I don't think anybody has any follow-up item.
Okay.
Well, I think just a quick two things. I think I was talking to Mark earlier yesterday. So one is, Michael, the documentation deadline for 119 is 1 week after the code freeze, right?
Yep. Usually,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So probably we'll need to switch focus on. And the other one is probably in a week or two we should start talking about the big items for 120.
Yeah, I think that, big items for 120, we're going to have to trying to get some resources for cluster API, because if we don't do that, I think that's going to hurt us a lot. And obviously Containerd needs to continue the investments, because that's a strategic bet for us to enable new scenarios like Hyper-V isolation and get away from Docker daemon. So I think that's, it goes without question that that's a huge need for us. But if we don't end up doing the cluster API and kubeadm and moving forward, it's going to hurt us.
Yeah. What do you mean
Yeah, I
exactly by
agree.
cluster API?
Well, so we had a few folks like Ben and Gab work on get kubeadm to beta. We need to move it forward, right? And then we need to make sure that cluster API has support for Windows nodes, because I've seen a lot of distributions out there, commercial distributions, that are trying to align with cluster API as the means of basically integrating with Kubernetes for lifecycle management. So if Windows is not in that, then we're gonna be left behind.
Right. Yeah. No, that's super critical. The KubeADM work. Yeah.
Yeah. So let
Yeah,
me
and then
share.
the other part of that is some cloud provider implementations for Cluster API, and I think we were targeting a couple
Yeah.
for Windows debut.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start with the Azure and GCP, which are the two biggest contributors to this community, right? With Peter and all the folks from Microsoft. And then from there on, like AWS, if they come to the table, that will be another one. But
yep.
Looking at this, and vSphere as well, which, you know, I ultimately have to own. So if we look at the schedule, by the way, since you asked earlier, Maz, you know, docs are July 16th right now.
Nice. Okay. So yeah, so as we get close to code free, we probably need to switch the focus to documentation.
Yeah, and you know, if there's like, you know, it doesn't hurt. Like maybe we can like several folks can follow what David is doing, which is if you know you're adding changes and PRs are going in, just maybe add a placeholder for some of those docs, right? Like something simple, something small, just to know that this is coming and tag it as work in progress so nobody merges it. But you can start capturing your thoughts in terms of the areas that you need to add the docs.
Yeah, that helps get some early feedback from the doc reviewers as well. They get quite busy near the end of the release cycle.
Yep, absolutely. All right, everybody. Now really have a great day. See you all next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.